Hi, First Assembly of God and other friends who might be watching this video today or sometime this week. I trust that you're doing well today, that you had a wonderful Memorial Day and a great weekend. So we are now in our last week in our reading through the book of Acts that is taking us up to Pentecost Sunday. And at the end of last week, we kind of finished off with these words from Acts 23, where the Lord comes to the Apostle Paul at night and says, "Take courage, as you have testified about me in Jerusalem, so you must also testify in Rome." And so we see God had a plan for Paul's life, and part of God's plan for him was that he would make it to Rome and that he would be able to witness for Christ there in the capital of the empire. And yet we see that for Paul to get to Rome, he first had to go through Jerusalem and through all kinds of difficulties and hardships. And so for Paul to get to Rome, you see, it wasn't an easy road. It wasn't like Paul just went and bought a ticket one day to go to Rome, but rather God got him there through all the difficulties, the imprisonments, the near riots, the plot against his life, and so forth. I'm just reminded today that God's ways are not always our ways. And that yes, God has a plan for our lives. God has a plan for His church. But to see that plan fulfilled doesn't always mean the road is going to be easy, that things are going to be smooth. And even right now, we're in a difficult time. And yet I have to believe that God's ways and God's work and God's plan are all being worked out. Well, what did it take on Paul's part to stay in the center of God's will? Well, it took courage, it took perseverance, and it took faith, believing that every step of the way, in spite of the questions Paul may have had at times, but Paul had to believe that every step of the way God was in control. And I want to encourage us to believe the same, that even in the midst of all of our difficulties and the stresses and strains and uncertainties that we face and some of the difficult roads we sometimes have to travel, that we would have courage, that we would persevere, that we would have faith, believing that God is still in control and will be in control every step of the way. Well, this coming Sunday is Pentecost Sunday, and so I trust you'll be online with us for our service on our YouTube channel at 10 a.m. as we just celebrate the outpouring of God's Spirit and the birth of the church. We call Pentecost Sunday often the birthday of the church. That's this Sunday. A week from Sunday, we have a guest speaker with us, Evangelist Jermel Mayo, who's been with us a number of times at First Assembly. He's going to be with us preaching the Word, and so I know it's going to be just a great time of encouragement for us. I want to thank so many of you who filled out the survey that was sent to you, and we're just trying to get a pulse of what's happening in our congregation and the concerns and the things that we need to do as we plan for reopening. We appreciate that our president, he mentioned that the church is an essential part of our community and an essential part of our nation. We also know that he referred to the CDC guidelines, and so we're looking at those carefully. I've been reading through those, and it mentions there that we need to follow our state and local governments as well. And so as we're doing all those things and looking to the future, we know it's going to be a little slow and that things may not look the way they were even a few months ago, but we know that God is going to help us, and eventually God's plans and God's purposes for His people, for His church, are going to be fulfilled, even if the road is a little tough, because we do believe that God is still in control. Thank you so much. I trust you'll be online with us tonight for our life-changing prayer service. God bless you.